The Rams trading for Sony Michel, a 2018 first-round pick, 31st overall taken by the New England Patriots, does have me thinking about the 27th pick, Rashaad Penny, who the Seattle Seahawks have. Drafting first-round running backs is not always the best endeavor, but I don't think, Danny, it's something that teams should rule out entirely because of the injury risk. To me, I look at those first rookie contracts that these guys get. You're expecting him to play for you for 4 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Does he have to play 5 plus? Does he have to play 10? Is that what you're looking for with a first-round pick?
You want to find – you're hoping to find a star with a first-round pick, right? I think people's expectations of what is a good first-round pick are too high.
I agree.
I think what people – but you want upside there. I don't think you should ever draft a running back in the first round. And if I ran an NFL team, that would basically be one of my rules, that it would take an act of God for the team that I ran the draft board of to draft a running back in the first round. And here would be my primary rationale. On the one hand, there is no evidence that points to sort of the transcendent running back being that being a valuable position. That the gap between your franchise stable running back, the guy who is the gold standard like Adrian Peterson, and the next best guy that you can get at that spot isn't nearly as big as it is at other positions like left tackle, wide receiver, quarterback. The second part, and this is probably even more, is that the great running backs, drafting him in the first round doesn't make him any more likely to be great than a running back that you draft in the third or fourth round. It's just as likely to find that great running back later in the draft as it is. It doesn't mean it always happens, and it doesn't mean that, hey, a third-round running back, because more running backs get picked in the third round than in the first round. But positional value combined with the inherent volatility of the position means that I would pretty much rule it out.
Well, here's where I differ on that. So it's more, the entire league is more likely to find a running back in the middle of the draft that works out than specifically you, one of the 32. Because I think that you are going to stumble into some guys that are found in the middle of the draft, but that is not a way to plan. And if there is a running back that you like and you feel like he is worthy of a first-round pick, I don't think you should be entirely scared away from it. Yes, we have seen some bad ones in the past, but it's been a while since we have seen someone completely flame out in the first, like Trent Richardson. We have seen contributors, and my take on first-round running backs is if you draft a running back in the first round, okay, maybe it's not going to change your franchise, but the odds of you completely busting on that pick, I think it's lower at running back than at any other position. And I'll just go back from 2015. Here are the first-round running backs that have been taken. Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley, Ezekiel Elliott, Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And, of course, we had Rashaad Penny and Sony Michel. In addition,
Saquon Barkley's on that list, too.
Right. I think I said his name. And then this year we'll see what happens. But Travis Etienne, of course, getting injured right away.
Out for the year.
That is not a good start, obviously.
But that's not a great – I mean, are all of those guys among the best backs in the league? It's not – for the percentage, because a productive running back gets opportunities. If you're a first-round running back, you're going to get more chances, right? I don't think Leonard Fournette was a good running back. I don't think he was a good running back at all. And
won the Bucs a Super Bowl with the way that he ran. I mean, he was a part of that.
Yeah, but that's after the team that drafted him let him go. I don't think that –
saddled with Blake Bortles, though.
I don't think that Leonard Fournette is a good running back. And I think that he is the example of he gets a lot of yards because he got a lot of opportunities. And I think that the Bucs could have found any one of about 25 guys that could have done what Leonard Fournette did last year in the playoffs.
25 available to them midway through the season? I don't know about 25.
The number of guys that are his equivalent skill set in the league is he was on waivers and nobody picked him up.
I get that, but I don't think that has to do with his skill set as much as it's with his, does he have it between the ears? Is he the guy that actually cares about this in the way that he needs to? I think his talent has always been obvious. It's a matter of, can you actually translate that on the field on a regular basis? He has had good moments in this league.
Yes.
I think
he has had good moments in this league, but so has Chris Carson, and Chris Carson was a 7th-round pick. And that's what I'm saying is picking a guy early and the number of guys that the best line – who's the best running back in the league right now? Is it Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry, based off of what we have seen most recently.
Was he first-round pick?
Derrick Henry –
Second-round pick,
Second-round pick, yes.
Like I think that drafting a running back in the first round, you end up putting so much into that at a position that is profoundly impacted by injuries, and that there's not a lot of evidence that transcendent back makes that big a difference.
What happens if you're drafting at the back of the first round, though? I mean, Nick Chubb is a second-round pick. How much of a difference between that second and first-round pick are we talking about when we get into the 20s and the 30s of the first round? That's where it starts to get strange. And I feel like if you are in one of those spots where you're trying to maybe trade out of it, which I imagine Seattle probably thought about with that Rashaad Penny pick before, right? Is that
but
something?
Penny's a bad pick, right? Like, we can say it now in retrospect. I said it before going into the draft. I don't want him to draft a running back in the first round. They drafted a running back, and I'm saying, hey, I hope it works out for them. I wouldn't have done this. We're now entering his 4th season, and hey, maybe he's still got something left, but it was a bad pick.
Isn't
and
he a
Sony
bad pick with injury, though?
Sony Michel just got traded for a 5th and a 6th-round pick. Like, was that a good use of a first-round pick? And then Nick Chubb, if you group all of those guys together, that's 1 out of 3?
Well,
that's terrible odds.
If you compare to the rest of first-round picks that play in the NFL, and I went back, I think it was before last year, and looked at like a 4-year sample size of first-round picks. I mean, first-round picks have their 5th-year option picked up 61% of the time.
Yep.
That's not very high. 40% end up getting long-term deals. Sony Michel is someone who is now in a crowded Patriots backfield. They, I think, were okay with what they got out of him for 4 years. Definitely not thrilled to the point where they would have brought him back, but he was productive in specific spots for them. And I think if you're looking at first-round picks as the need to be a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro, you're not going to get that very often. It's like 13% get a first-team All-Pro, 15% get a second-team All-Pro, and 39% get to at least 1 Pro Bowl. But we're talking like some of these guys are making it as special teams players, and they're only doing it 1 year. It's hard to find contributing players in the first round. The reason I don't mind drafting running backs in the first round is because I feel like more than at any other position, when you draft a running back early, that guy can likely contribute, and he's more likely to contribute than guys at other positions. I don't know that that means he's necessarily going to be better than them, but I feel like that player is going to give you 3 to 4 years where you're like, yep, I can hand the ball off to him, and assuming he can figure out pass protection, that guy's going to be a good part of this team.
If you give me a choice between a running back drafted in the first round and a running back drafted in the 4th, the 5th, and the 7th, I take the latter every single time. Let those 3 guys compete. I'll see which one of them is the best. If you gave me those 2 just straight-up value options, and a first-round pick is worth way more than the picks that I just laid out. Because if your first-round pick doesn't work out, that's all you get. I would rather have a battle of attrition. And the other thing we're not talking about here is the ceiling. What's the ceiling for a first-round running back? Because the ceiling for a left tackle, the ceiling for a wide receiver, the ceiling for a quarterback, like all of those are – the ceiling for a cornerback is so significantly higher than any of those things that I would always veer away toward choosing a running back in the first round. But
you can find – there are so many busts at cornerback in the first round that you'll find. And look, you swing, you roll the dice. I mean, you're not going to hit on every single pick, but you mentioned, okay, a 4th-round pick and a 7th-round pick at running back. We're talking about DJ Dallas and Travis Homer here. Now, maybe DJ Dallas is going to give you something as a special teams player, but that's what it looks like his role is at this point in time. And Travis Homer is, okay, I guess he's good at pass protection. And what else? I don't know.
And then the 7th-round pick is Chris Carson? Yeah, I'd rather take door number 2.
You won the lottery with Chris Carson, who would have been a first-round pick if he did not get injured. He was going to Georgia. Every running back at Georgia ends up being a top 3 round pick. Yes.
7th-round pick.
Because he busted his knee and he went to a pass-heavy offense at Oklahoma State. Yes, because he ended up going to a situation where he was not given the ball as
You got
much
him
as
in the
he needed
7th
to.
round. You got him in the 7th round. I'd rather have someone win that competition.
You know what? I'm going to draft a quarterback in the 6th round because Tom Brady, you know what? The Patriots got him in the 6th round. I'm going to find him there. You know, I'm going to draft a quarterback in the 3rd round because Russell Wilson, he fell there. You are playing the lottery, and just because of one player getting drafted in the 7th round, like, do you really feel like that's going to happen more often than not? Sometimes if you see a guy at the back of the 1st round, you like him, I say pull the trigger on that guy.
Yeah, and you did with Rashaad Penny, and how'd that work out?
We'll see. I think still remains to be seen. Now, I'm not feeling great about it, but if not for that injury, Danny, aren't we having a totally different conversation about him?
Maybe. Isn't injury part of the conversation?
I guess.
Is an injury part of the conversation specifically at running back?
But it's a part of every position, too.
More so running back. Isn't Travis Etienne out for the year?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is. Look, he had the second to last game, was the third to last game. That game he had against the Philadelphia Eagles, it looked like it was going to turn into something big. Obviously, the injury happened, and here we have this conversation.
Yeah, Danny. Use an first-round pick on an offensive tackle like James Carpenter, like Jermaine Ifedi, because those worked out so well.
You are going to miss on a lot of first-round picks.
That's true. That is part of the reality that people don't admit. I'd rather miss with a high ceiling, though. I'd rather miss when it's like...
I understand. And look, I think missing with a high floor, that's not the worst thing in the world, too.
There's something to be said for that. There's something to be said for, hey, this guy's going to be a productive component rather than someone like Aaron Curry, who you end up feeling like we really can't have this guy on the field.
And that's the other thing that throws the wrench in it, too, because the first half of the first round and the second half of the first round, it's like they're two completely different rounds.
They should be valued entirely differently.
Right.
Like the value of a late first-round pick is equivalent to a second-round pick. Like the difference there. And a top 15 pick is significantly different. I agree with you there.